Hi guys, Richard Liu here at NZ Entrepreneur, and today on Innovation Nation, I'm totally stoked to be talking to Rachel Butler. Rachel is a General Manager at Startup Dunedin, and she's joining us here today from just a few hours up the road, really. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure, thanks for having me.
Awesome, cool. So can we just start, Rachel, for those who may not know about Startup Dunedin, can you just tell us a bit about what your role is there as General Manager and I guess what the organisation is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So Startup Dunedin is a non-for-profit trust. We're funded and founded by the University of Otago, Otago Polytechnic and Dunedin City Council. And we also receive some support and sponsorship from Creative HQ and Callaghan Innovation as well. And so we exist and we're set up literally to encourage and foster entrepreneurship across the city. So that looks like everything from awareness and kind of capacity building and encouraging people to consider it as an option, all the way through to our high growth and highly scalable startups and incubation. So we get to work with everyone from young enterprise and our tertiary program through co-starters all the way to hopefully exporting and heading offshore.
So basically anyone who's thinking about starting a business in the area can sort of get in touch with you guys, and you've got programs to help them wherever they're at. Is there are there specific types of entrepreneurs or businesses that you have a focus on, or?
There's no focus on the type of business. We say there's never a time that's too early to come see us. We'll take you right from you've had a thought in the shower all the way through you might have been working on it for a couple of years. We do that in a number of ways. The first way we do that is with our programs. So we have 3 core programs we deliver. The first one is Audacious, and Audacious is open to anyone from enrolled at the University of Otago or the the Polytech, sorry. And we run it each semester. And it's run as a series of sort of 9 really intensive, really high energy workshops. And there's just over 20K every semester for student ideas. And it's kind of that exposure, try it on for size. There's a lot of students that are already working on businesses, or it might be that business isn't for them, but they've got a problem they're really passionate about. So it might be social enterprise or a community project, or just an opportunity to grow a skill set as well. So some of those soft skills that employers are looking for. So that's Audacious. We then run a program called Co-Starters. So Dunedin got the Co-Starters program when we run Gigatown. And Co-Starters runs as a 9-week workshop. It comes out of the States and it's run as a small intensive group. It's kind of like business planning 101. So that's for anyone wanting to really get their idea to the next stage. And then we have our Distiller Incubator. And so that is our sort of incubator accelerator hybrid. And that's for the startups that are really scalable, looking to go global, really growth focused, and we work with them a lot more intensively. So we work with them weekly, and that's a rolling incubator. So we take people every month.
Right, awesome. And does that go as far as, let's say, helping people potentially raise money from investment, or?
Yeah, definitely. So when someone applies to come into the incubator, they set a particular goal. So they don't come in for a set amount of time, they actually pick their time depending on their goal. So it might be, I actually really want to onboard my first overseas customer, and it might be that I'm looking to raise. And part of what we do in that incubator is get everyone investor ready. So they might never seek investment, but there's a lot of really good practice and due diligence that comes with that. And one of the really exciting things that happened this year, and then amongst lockdowns, was Mainland Angel Investment Network was launched. And it's a collaborative effort with Queenstown Startup Lakes, Coin South in Invercargill, and Dunedin. And so that is about bringing those 3 regions together so that startups can go and do the rounds and pitch at all 3, rather than having to make a whole bunch of phone calls and a whole bunch of introductions. And we had our first pitch night for that just a few weeks ago.
Great. So and that pitch night was in there in Dunedin, was it? Or?
In Dunedin and in Queenstown.
Yeah. Awesome, cool. Yeah, so keen to be watching progress with that. So hopefully what that means is more Otago-based businesses and Southland-based businesses getting the money they need. Traditionally, what's been the driver for Dunedin specifically in terms of main industries or businesses?
I guess staple in Dunedin, we've definitely seen the startup ecosystem really grow and thrive over the last 10 years in Dunedin. There's a real core backbone to that, which is our tertiary bodies, so having access to Polytech and the university, all their academics, the 20,000 fresh minds that turn up every year. Dunedin also has a really creative aspect to it as well. So we're a UNESCO World Literature Site. We've also got, a lot of Dunedin sound and the music that's based here. And I think there's also a real history of manufacturing in Dunedin. What we're sort of seeing come out, I guess, in the newer years is looking at gaming, right? So code, Centre of Digital Excellence, education is still a really big one, looking at education tech coming out of that sector. The new hospital build is another one. It's a lot of health tech and looking at startups coming out of there as all that construction kind of comes online in Dunedin as well.
Yeah, so from an infrastructure point of view, and as you point out, just the evolution of Dunedin in terms of the startup ecosystem, things are really now starting to tick along. But it doesn't happen overnight, does it?
No, and it's very much, it takes a village, right? So we're looking at some of the success stories that you see around. Think about Pocketsmith or Pledge Me or Quick Brown Fox that sort of came out of Dunedin over the last 10 years. There's a real sense of giving back. So they've built something here, but they're also a huge part of Dunedin and contributing to the energy and the wider entrepreneurial ecosystem as well.
You mentioned gaming there as a very flourishing sort of opportunity. Are there any other sort of industries or verticals, if you like, that you're particularly excited about or think you've got, watching Dunedinites or Otago entrepreneurs working away on?
I think we're pretty industry agnostic when it comes to Startup Dunedin. So we've seen about 300 startups this year, and it's across the board. So in our incubator last year, there are 3 physical products, 2 with a SaaS element to them as well. Same as the year before, the physical products. And at the moment in incubation, we've got a ready-to-drink hard iced tea that's just started making sales. We've got a SaaS platform that's looking at solving the problem that there are 21,000 charities around New Zealand. There's lots of duplication, a lot of digital presence. They're solving that problem and they've just launched as well. So yeah, huge spectrum.
There's been some amazing stories coming through our Innovation Nation series of businesses and startups indeed, who when COVID happened and New Zealand went into lockdown 4 and then Auckland went back into level 3, I think, for the second time, there really were some additional roadblocks there on the entrepreneurial journey. But it's just been amazing to see the response and how so many businesses and startups were able to very quickly sort of just adapt, and in some cases actually those pivots opened up bigger opportunities than they were working on in the first place. So what did it look like when all that was sort of going down over your way? What were the team at Startup Dunedin sort of thinking, and what were some of the things you did?
We're pretty lucky. We're a team of 3. So once we sort of got word that it was looking like we're heading into a lockdown, we were able to mobilise at home really quickly. We got the team set up and we actually delivered Audacious the week of lockdown online. So we shifted our whole student entrepreneurship program online within a couple of days. It was a mammoth effort from the team, but at that stage, our students were basically saying, we just want to keep going, we want the routine, this is something we're serious about. And then in semester 2, we did the first one person, and then lockdown, or level 2 hit again. So it moved back online, but we managed to put 200 students through a program this year entirely virtually, which was really good. It was also really great for us to be able to test what that's like for long distance students. So there's bits in learning that we'll keep and we'll use again next year. I guess thinking beyond what it looked like in Dunedin, and I'm sure it was similar around the country, Dunedin just really rallied. It was very much the phone was always going, what do people need? What were the pain points? How could they relieve them? We had one of our sponsors, Firebrand, they actually launched and built a Dunedin store within 3 days and loaded 700 businesses on there to kind of bridge that digital gap for some of our businesses. So the outpouring of support and actually coming together was pretty phenomenal in Dunedin.
Again, it's just been really cool to hear how different regions have responded, but the common theme is just, I guess Kiwis, pulling themselves up by the bootstraps and just getting on with it, and yeah, coming together as best we can to really help each other out, and that's what has really impressed me. Some might think, well, in a situation like that, then it becomes every man, woman, and child for themselves, but it's not really the case that we've seen.
I think we're supporting a piece of research at the moment by Dr. Marissa Koga in the university, and she's looking at inclusive entrepreneurship. And so I think something that we did learn is not all homes are equal. So students that didn't have Wi-Fi didn't have devices. And so Marissa is leading a piece of research with Russia, who is a Serena Hillary Fellow based in Dunedin, to look at mapping our Dunedin ecosystem. So who's talking to who, where are the relationships, where's the support, who isn't talking to who, that should know about each other, and working at how in 2021 we can hopefully make that ecosystem more inclusive and work out which areas of the community aren't aware of the supports. So that's another thing that sort of came off the back of COVID.
And you've already mentioned some pretty cool achievements for this weird year, 2020. Looking ahead to 2021, what's sort of on the horizon? What are some of the key initiatives or projects that you're looking forward to?
I think definitely seeing how Mainland Angel Investment Network goes and growing that missing piece. Sarah Ramsey, the chair of Startup Dunedin, loves to say, you can put all the startup support, but you're building a beautiful bridge to nowhere. So making sure that while we've got an amazing pipeline at the moment of all these startups coming through, what's next, and making sure they have that support. For us, it'll be keep working with our incubator. We've seen just such an influx in startups, like again, with that strange year, and we've had 300 through, it's not quite the end of the year, and looking at how we can streamline that and continue support, as well as student entrepreneurship. It's just such a huge growth area. Students are particularly blue sky. They don't understand bureaucracy and budgets and how long things take. And if we can tap into them while they're learning about all these things they agree and disagree with, and get them to tell us how we can be doing it better, and empower them to go out and make that change, I think that's a really optimistic part of 2021 for students. So
just thinking about Dunedin in itself, and I guess the broader Otago region, what is it about the region that you love personally?
So I have a really great answer to this because I voluntarily moved here, so I followed the momentum and watching what was happening in Dunedin. And I think the difference is this attitude that's come from this 10-year history of everyone supporting each other to get new businesses off the ground. But when someone says I've got an idea, it's not like, oh, that's really nice, good luck, let me know how you get on. It's what do you need? Who have you talked to? Have you spoken to this person? This person did it 5 years ago. Get in touch, find out why it didn't work. And there's a real belief that the next great idea might come out of Dunedin. And so I think as we saw some of the effects from COVID, rather than everyone sort of batting down the hatches, we've had more community sponsorship than ever before. So our incubator has over 100 grand of cash and in-kind support from Deloitte, from Galloway Cook Allen, from Firebrand. And these are people who are just as slammed and as busy as everyone else. Our co-starters cohort has been fully sponsored by Pulse and Higgs. They're donating 2 of their team to deliver it. Petri Dish is a co-working space here. They've donated the space. So I think more than ever, Dunedin is absolutely doubling down that startups are with the future of the city and to keep the energy going.
And are there any specific businesses that you would like to mention that maybe you feel have been doing really interesting things or good work?
Yeah, definitely. We don't have favourites, but some wins that have come out in the last couple of weeks. Winely have just raised $2 million, which is a pretty phenomenal effort. They're looking at speeding up the capturing of data from the winemaking process, and they're doing a phenomenal job, and they're also really generous in their time and contribution to supporting other entrepreneurs as they come up. Chive is another one. So Chive are looking at having an online database for all of New Zealand's charities to make them easier to find, and to make it easier for people to find causes they want to give to. And they have just made their first 2 sales, which is really exciting. We've also had 2 new RTDs launch at Beerfest. So Cheeky Iced Tea and Robin Hood are both 2 ventures that were built during lockdown. And Cafe Logic is another one that's looking to raise out of Dunedin. So they're an at-home coffee roaster, And the last one, which has just gone public, is one of our entrepreneurs who was the CEO of Kit, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, has just been offered a place in Antler in Sydney for a startup called Solace, which is looking at how do we better support wellbeing.
So just to round up, Rachel, have you got any sort of messages you'd like to leave for fellow Dunedinites or anyone else around New Zealand watching, be they entrepreneurs or members of the ecosystem?
I think it's don't undervalue what experience and what knowledge you might be able to add to someone as they're starting their journey or partway through. Get involved in your ecosystem, your skill set, your contacts, your network, even if it's a one-off, a coffee, or to get alongside a mentor. Don't underestimate, there's always some way that you can be adding value. So my encouragement would be to get involved in your local ecosystem, get along to some events, see what you're excited by, and just get in behind them.
Well said. That was Rachel Butler, General Manager at Startup Dunedin.